Last time it was a short preview with a very interesting stunt and some interviews. This time we have a lot of time here in the preview with the all-new Jaguar F-PACE, the first ever Jaguar SUV here on Autogefühl, your number one resource for in-depth car reviews and your number one community to discuss cars with Thomas. This one here, Jaguar is one of my favorite brands as they have this really astonishing design. But of course, we'll be very fair with this car, but also take a detailed look at the exterior, interior, all of the flexibility features. What does it offer, this Jaguar SUV? We're going to find out in this preview. What we see right now, obviously dark red color, which is very pleasing for this SUV. And this one is the R Sport line. You know it maybe from the XE and the XF. The R Sport line is when you not have the sporty engine beneath the hood, but you already have the sporty exterior and interior. And that was quite often a very famous choice because not everyone really needs a V6 beneath the hood, especially not in an SUV. But probably everyone wants to have a nice sporty look, and that one we got here with a black front grille. You see the front grille is really huge and I really love it. However, it's not from chrome, it's just plain plastic, and from a Jaguar, I would rather await a real chrome grille here. And as we, for example, seen here with the XF, well, recently it has been kind of a trend to remove those shiny chrome grilles with the black one because, got all about this rather evil sporty design. Not really my favorite, but maybe it's yours. And check it out in the comments and put me one comment there. You see the Jaguar Growler here in the front has a red background that's also suitable here for the red color, and that is also the reason, as it's an R Sport variant, then you also got it with a red background here. What else do we see? That everything else looks really powerful, especially the the front bumper here, and also these fake air intakes. Again, if I look at them in detail there's nothing really. It's just a cover. There's no air intake, but it looks like it. And well, from the distance, it looks really remarkable. And there are more details. When you take a very close look at the headlights, it says Jaguar LED technology, and those are the full LED headlights. You can get optional, and will be the case from the standard equipment. And there's also a small Jaguar leaper inside the headlights, and I love it really when you have those small details to look at. Right here behind, over there, you see the all-new Range Rover Evoque convertible. If you're also interested in that vehicle, after you have watched that one here, there's also a link in the video description. Then you can also watch the Evoque convertible preview. That is also a very remarkable one. Let's now focus here on the side profile. And what we especially see from the side is this very powerful hood with that power dome, which is also a very famous characteristics for Jaguar cars. And again, it's very sensual design here. The alloys here, so huge, 22-inch alloys, and I think that's too huge. It almost looks still like a concept car, and I can promise you, you will lose riding comfort when they are that huge. So I would definitely not recommend them. Even 20-inch looks always quite fancy, but usually I say, okay, go with 18 or 19, then you have still a good riding comfort, and already a very spectacular design on the exterior. These ones here, yeah, they look still quite good, also in the two-color scheme, but really too huge. Oh, what's your opinion there? Then this side air in or outtake, but again, it's just fake because I see the red paint behind it. This one also says here is the R Sport line, also symbolizes this sporty exterior-interior trim level. And if you move on, well, the standard mirror caps here, also the standard mirror as we know from the Jaguar sedans. And the window line, it's not totally steep, it's just a little bit curved, and that means we still will have possibly a lot of space on the interior. But of course, with the Jaguar car, you have to somehow remain the central designs of the sedan versions. Therefore, you also have to lose some space here to make space for the spectacular design. Black painted roof rails we have here, and we already see from the outside that we'll have a panoramic roof. That one we'll check out also what it does with the headroom. Everything else, the basic scheme about most Jaguar cars is just use one or two design lines, and that is of course task of Ian Callum, head of Jaguar design, and the same he has done with the F-PACE. We just have one design line above the door handles that is dissolving into those very strong shoulders in the rear. And that's kind of it. You know, this dropping line here, you see we have light, shadow, and another central line at the lower part of the car, which is giving another bit of light, but just very slightly. And then an off-road style of contrast at the lower part of the car. So overall, I think one of the main topic of the Jaguar is central design. I think it does work with an SUV, and it's not a coupe SUV like we see with, for example, BMW X4, X6. It's not. It still has, you know, rather classic SUV design, but with those coupe style ending on the rear, it is still also as beautiful as a coupe. You can hardly see it, but another wildcat is right here. Just a silhouette inside the taillights. Again, another detail. You can always search around the car for new details. Finally, to the rear, here in the R Sport version, we also have quite accentuated wing. And in this case, I think it works. It gives the car a little bit more agility. But however, it really reduces the visibility here in the rear window. There's, hardly any rear window left, and we'll soon see it when we are getting inside the interior. If you look in the rear mirror, it's really hard to see. But it's, of course, always, a game between design and visibility. Sometimes the design wins, sometimes the visibility. And what else do we see here in the rear? You see the strong shoulders dissolve into the taillights, which are drawn all the way from the side. Really taillights that begin at the side of the car. We've recently seen it, for example, with the new Renault models. They really like to do that as well here. And that makes the car a little broader as well. And this typical round-shaped design of the taillight here, that comes from the F-Type, but then, of course, originally derives from the Jaguar E-Type that initiated this taillight design. Also, F-PACE is, a little bit like F-Type, and I'm not really sure about the name. Not really satisfied with it. They didn't ask me, but of course, they don't have to. But because, for example, when you pronounce it in French, like we say with a Renault Espace, and you say F-Pace, F-Pace, Espace, quite some resemblance. Of course, we just didn't want to say F-PACE, but still, I would have liked maybe another name, or what's your comment on that one? In general, about the engine version we have here with the R Sport, we soon see it in the front of the hood. It also says here at the rear part 2.0 liter D, 2-liter diesel, and AWD with the all-wheel drive. And then you also got two exhaust pipes in the rear, so it's at the diesel, but it will still be suitable for that car, definitely. Of course, steadily there will also be more engine versions, also more powerful one. The engines you usually know from the rest of the Jaguar lineup. And let's look beneath the hood. Here, as I said earlier, the 2-liter diesel says here Jaguar Ingenium. This is the new engine building line. But there will also be the 3-liter V6 diesel available as well from the Jaguar lineup. The petrol engines, the V6, the big ones with 340 or 380 horsepower. Now it's interior time, and by the way, if you look at some gaps, we shouldn't be too critical with this very car because it's still a show car, it's a pre-production car, and so not everything is like 100%. But we show you the cars as early as possible, of course. What I really like is the ambient light has again this central form. Very nice idea. It's quite of simple with the idea, but again something, you know, to spice the car up a little bit more. And then this loop that is already beginning right here with the aluminum cover, then again, of course, you do lose some space here. That is just like a cover. But again, it continues the design approach from the outside to the interior. And I really like that. Color-wise, if we take a look at the rest of the interior, the R Sport design here is also very fitting from the interior colors. With the R Sport, you usually get on the inside of the seats some cloth material or Alcantara. There are several options. You really have to look at the configurator or the price list. This one here is the optional full animal skin equipment. But even here, we are not very sure which is artificial and which is, you know, from the real animal ripped off. You hardly can tell the difference. But what I can say, whatever it is, this material is not good, and we've seen it with the XE and the XF. Don't go for it. I mean, even if you don't care about killing animals, don't go for it, because it's not from good quality, and also you will sweat on it on summer. But Jaguar does offer a lot of alternatives also with cloth seats. That's actually no problem, especially in the lower trim levels and the higher sporty trim levels. As I said, they also have, for example, called technical mesh on the inside of the seats. Go for that one then. So, other thing here about the interior, and yes, it is beep beep beep. We have some show mode running here, and what is actually quite nice, because we can see the digital instruments. You will have the GPS optionally, of course. You can also go with the standard analog instruments. If you pay extra for the big infotainment screen, you can also get this digital instrument in the front. Really huge, and they give you a good overview of the GPS. This one here is Frankfurt. You see, even in Frankfurt, we got the simulated buildings we have here. The Festhalle in Frankfurt is the Messturm, from the fair, the tower, where also the auto show is taking place. This one will be digital tachometer then. The left screen can be digitalized also for any purpose, for example here for phone, audio, music info, the driver assistance systems, or also just for anything else you want to put in there. I think it looks really quite well from the visual point of view. Of course, some like analog, some like digital instruments. Well, I think it depends on always. Usually I'm also more a fan of classic analog instruments, because when you have digital instruments, especially as a speed, there's always one more factor that could possibly go wrong. With analog instruments, hardly that there are, you know, any failures or something like that. So you always have to think about that. The steering wheel, we know basically from the other Jaguar models, also the R Sport steering wheel, the size is quite good. What I don't like, and I can say that even if it's a pre-production car, the buttons on the steering wheel, it's not really up to date like in the Range Rover models, for example. The Jaguar interior build quality is unfortunately not at the highest level at the moment. I really hope they will fix that in the future. But as we've obviously seen from the XF, from testing one of the early pre-production models, and then later on they have improved already a little bit. So I really hope that this also be the case for that one, especially for the steering wheel. However, we also see some elements which are already very good here right now. And for example, at the middle console, when you use the temperature buttons here, for example, this one works pretty well. Also from the sound they create, this is everything solid, and also the new optional very huge display here, still in the demo mode. But it's, again, I enjoyed absolutely to have the demo mode, because they can show all of the functions. It will work everything by touch, so therefore you also have less buttons way here. I think you have a really huge and good overview, definitely. It's kind of the same size as we have in the front of the instruments. And I like that we have a rather cleaned up atmosphere here. This one will be the start-stop button. Those glossy black instruments we have here, the panels, or the piano veneers, yeah, they look fancy at the first time, but then they collect dust and of course also fingerprints. So I would rather prefer some natural wood here in this case. Then we see the middle console with the Jaguar Drive Selector. That one pops up when you start the car. You select the driving modes. And talking about driving modes, as for the ESP here, as we, for example, explained to you lately in the Jaguar XF all-wheel drive model, race mode to have good power on the rear wheels, normal mode, eco, and then snow mode to have more power on the front wheels. The all-wheel drive system will be similar to the other ones we've seen in the Jaguars. It wouldn't make sense, you know, to go for a completely different drivetrain, and therefore we will also have a predominant rear-wheel driven cars. By the way, the all-wheel drive system the Jaguar is using is from Magna, the same supplier than BMW has. So the BMW X-Drive is the Jaguar all-wheel drive. So if you know the BMW X-Drive, you also know how it is behaving. And the sense behind that is really that you have a lot of power also on the rear wheels to have a sportier ride. And yeah, combining SUV with sportiness is always a thing. BMW does it very well from the driving point of view, definitely. The Audi SUVs usually also as well. And here, the thing is, well, we got a quite powerful hood, but the overview, also if you compare it to the Range Rover Evoque, is quite good because the windscreen goes higher. And I feel quite comfortable here, definitely. Also from a seating position, it's higher than, for example, in the Evoque. And the topic behind that one here is, for example, if you really like the Jaguar F-Type, but you're too tall for the Jaguar F-Type, like me, I sometimes feel a little bit too tall for the F-Type, then you also have the possibility to buy a car for tall Jaguar drivers now. And that one could be the F-PACE, for example. Therefore, I'm really keen on driving that one. SUV boom at the moment still really the most surging market. Therefore, Jaguar has also finally entered this segment here. Storage spaces starting here at the inside of the doors, you see, that one will also fit for huge water bottles as you have the open space going towards the Meridian sound system there. So, very good alternative to have that here. Then if we move on by the way, another central line, you see this is the same scheme and, well, I think that will attract a lot of customers. Then you can see the glove box has a new kind of styling. We haven't seen it with other Jaguars so far, but again, a very nice detail. And that's also a big difference to German built cars that are usually from a look and feel perfect, but sometimes even a little bit boring. Sliding down the glove box, reasonable space in here. It's not cooled, obviously. Then there's for your smartphone, you can place it right here. You will also have an app connect with this new infotainment system, of course. Jaguar In-Control apps. There's a separate video about the In-Control apps. Check that out in the video description. Beverage holders, they're adaptive with those rubber knobs here. And well, yeah, it is a pre-production car, but it's the same again in the XE and XF. And those middle part here, also from the surface, it doesn't feel that high class, I must admit. So HDMI, USB 2x 12-volt power supply, and some space here, and that's the key you'll have also like the newer Land Rover keys as well. This nice ambient lighting, okay, you can of course change the color of that one. You even have it in the rear compartment, and it's nice that they also paid attention to this very detail. I would usually put the ambient light to blue, one of my favorite colors. And now it's panoramic roof time. By the way, those additional light straps you see here, these are just show car purposes. They have nothing to do with the serial car, just forget about them. But I mean, sometimes you wonder about when something is additional put here, but that's had nothing to do with the serial car. Let's open the panoramic roof, and you see it's really huge, and still I have enough reasonable headroom if I'm not sliding too far in the front, but that won't happen. You can open it either here, just very slightly, or also completely. And well, they do have the Range Rover Evoque convertible in the lineup now, but with this huge panoramic roof, you can, I would expect that you can slide it further down. But that way, yeah, it still makes sense to go for the Evoque convertible, because this one is not that huge of a gap I would have expected. Sometimes you can slide it even more back, but obviously that's it. Let's now check out the rear compartment. Very interesting concept how they solved that one here. A little bit of sharp corner, I'm not sure if that was necessary. I think in a later car this one here will be again covered, maybe painted, because that is surely pre-production style. That is one of the things you realize that car. We have the same styling, definitely, and again, I wouldn't go for these kind of seats, just go with a standard trim or with a normal R Sport trim without those leather option. We can all retail it so far. I'm 1 meters 86 in height and got the seat as I would be driving. And you see, you still got a lot of knee space, and that's of course better than, for example, in some of the Jaguar sedans, because here you have the upright seating position, which is of course not coasting so much length, then because you're sitting more upright than going like this, you know. That is a quite good solution then here for the car. Headspace with the panoramic roof is still possible with, well, 190 meters in height would still work. If you're 2 meters, then probably leave out the panoramic roof, which is normally already quite good for rear passengers because they can really see through, but it's not a must-have, the panoramic roof here. What is quite interesting, well, there's not an easy solution, you know, with a strap here or something like that. You can adjust the back of part of the seat, but there's this button here. And do you know this button? If you know Jaguar, you know this button. This one here, I had that in my Jaguar XK as a convertible opening button, and this one was still all derived from the Ford Mondeo. So good old 4 times visible here with this button. And there you can adjust slowly the rear part of the bench, and I really like that if you can do that. I mean, it's not necessary that you can do it electrically, because, is it the maximum? Yeah, it's the maximum now. Because, you know, I also like to sit rather upright in the rear, not have this sleeping position, and so this one is possible here then as well. At least they've thought about it, but maybe just a manual system that would perfectly work as well. For your multimedia in the rear compartment, you'll have USB 1, USB 2, 12 volts, 12, 3, and 12. Some space in here. And I guess there will also be a 3-zone AC, but that one will just be optional then. Nice, by the way, Jaguar writing on the vent control. Traveling and flexibility, first of all here for some beverages for rear passengers, but of course you can also sit with 3 people behind. Then you can flip the seats from here manually, that is possible, and you have a 1/3, 2/3 split, and you'll have an even loading surface to the trunk. And that is where we are going right now. We have an electric hatch, just press it once or with the key, and it opens, by the way. Sensor, up, okay, let's test it down with the sensor. Yeah, I think it's better than a Volkswagen, but I've also seen it even more sensitive, but I think it's, to the upside could be more sensitive, downside is still okay, but okay, downside is also probably the most crucial one. Then let's take a look at the trunk, and yeah, I mean, for a central sports car, that is really quite good. I mean, look at the space. You don't lose too much space in the, you know, in how wide it is and also how long it is. Also, we got the 12-volt power supply in the rear, quite sticky. And you can also flip the seats from here, like this. That is one, and if you put the second one as well, then, well, that's a funny thing. If we did it just some minutes before, we did it the other way around. Let's just play this game once more. Might have also something to do with the electronic stuff we did with flipping it. Let's take this one first. Oh, there it is. There we go. And so you see, really can load a lot of stuff in here. Yeah, behind this one we don't have a spare tire. Battery placed below that one, and well, it shouldn't be that kind of off-road SUV, of course. You only lose space here in the height due to the design, so it's not the perfect car to transport a dishwasher with. But of course, that's also not the emphasis of a car. And I've now put also, if you look right through, the seat in the lowest position possible with the electronic level, and you see the loading through is not the best optimum. So there's not a really good possibility to load stuff through to a very far point. But again, I think the main focus of this car is also not just transporting flexibility. However, it, of course, for an SUV still remains an important factor. And now my conclusion on what I can say so far on the all-new Jaguar F-PACE. Well, so far I said the all-new Volvo XC90 is the most beautiful SUV on the market. still remains it, especially in this R design version we've shown you lately. It's also linked in the video description. But now I can really say, I think this one here, the Jaguar F-PACE, will be the most beautiful SUV in the market to me. How it is for you, just put me your opinion in the comments then. So what we see from the exterior is really spectacular, especially with those 22-inch alloys. I wouldn't really go for it, but everything else, this is really a perfect example where you have, you know, a SUV that is from the basic form, in general rather bulky, but still they have made it really essential car, and I really love that about the car. Also, the interior design is on a very good level, also with those floating lines. They've done a very good job. They also to differentiate the interior design to all of the other brands. This is really something very unique. Yes, it is a pre-production car, so we cannot finally rate the interior quality, but I think also if I take a look at the other Jaguar models, it has already gotten better with the all new models, but that is, I think, the main factor they have to work on now, because the driving agility, as we've experienced with the XE or the XF, is already now on a very good level. Exterior, no questions. Now I think it's more about the interior build quality, but of course it's also your choice which trim you pick and which seats you pick. You can also adjust it right there. Flexibility and space offering in the interior, yes, well, the design reduces the space in the interior, yes, but basically what about knee space, front, rear, head space, that's all perfectly fine. So you also have a reasonable space offering, although you have a sporty SUV. So that's my conclusion here so far, and I hope I'll also be joining us with the driving review with the Jaguar F-PACE. We'll deliver you at a later point. As soon as this review is available, it will also be linked in the Autogefühl video description. Thank you very much for watching this Autogefühl preview with Thomas, and we'll see us next time.